Don't make me go back. Just you see the claw marks as I drag you back to.
No, don't make me go back! Don't make me go back!
Well, Fluffy, thank you for letting me know. As obviously the things that I see and hear are different than what you all do. So for any of you out in the audience, if something is way too loud or too soft, whether it's my voice, the voice of any of the players, the music or something, it's okay to say something about it. You're not gonna be breaking any hearts, because ultimately, I don't want to.
We're professionals.
Yeah, I don't
control
want to
is
like lose an
definitely a
entire
broadcast
session
thing.
and have something be overwhelming. But when you all talk, you're in the yellow. You're solid, almost touching red when you talk. So I see the background music is like halfway in the green. So I guess that's a good mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good mix.
Okay.
So, yeah, because the especially when it got to like the Six Landlords music, that was pretty overpowering when it came to versus us.
Oh wow.
And versus
all right.
you. So.
All right. Well.
Just something
also,
to keep in mind.
The country tieflings more interesting than the city tieflings. I'm calling it now.
You like them better?
Yeah.
It's their accent, isn't it? That's what clinched it.
No, actually.
They're more interesting because they're not following we. Yes, that's interesting.
The culture is interesting.
Well,
the
I'm
way
glad,
they look at things is interesting.
I'm glad I have some things that pique interests every now and again. You know, going on 3.
Yeah.
When is the anniversary? Actually, we are in August now.
It would be like anniversary month this month.
Yeah.
At least for me.
Give me a moment, and I can look. For I have the ability to.
I want to say
delve
somewhere like
through...
in the middle-ish. But yeah, everyone, at some point now or soon, happy anniversary of Chroma Company.
Yay!
Yeah. All right. So
we didn't actually start calling the show this until this year.
Just recently, it was a very generic title.
We have been the Chroma Company for all 3 years.
Some dude says stuff to 4 strangers for a couple hours. It wasn't super compelling, but that's kind of what it ended up being.
Exactly. Yep. Also, Hive Cat.
Scroll down further.
It is an official Maddie stream.
I will give my shout outs here. Now, as I'm putting the links out here for you all, I mean, you all know who you are and what you do on your streams, but for you in the audience, if you haven't already, please do check out these channels. And well, I'm giving shout outs here to Dark Wolf, to Gathering of Nerds. Second, as that is where you can find lethality, and a shout out to Coffee Cat Presents. I'm very blessed to know other people here who put up with me every Tuesday. And this has been going on for a very long time now. And I want to say ultimately that, especially because you all do other things, whether it's education or work, or you just have other hobbies or family or friends, and we can look back over what has happened over the past 3 years in our, as a group, let alone in our own individual lives. Coffee, you moved. It wasn't a small move either. I mean, it was
across the country.
Yeah,
kind of.
From the country of Utah to the country of Texas. And just all the things that have been up, down, and all around. I am grateful because this fact we've had a pretty solid record of consistency for so long, especially being time zones apart.
Who slips it on pineapple under the sea? I do!
Lethality.
So especially egregious notes to lethality. For being completely out of space and time in Australia. But yeah, I want to let you all know, even if we haven't hit our official anniversary yet, but it is August. I very much appreciate everything that we've done so far, and all of you for making time, for bearing through. If there's points in this, and I will bear my cross for a moment. If there's points in the story where individually or as a group you're like, oh, what's going on? Or if I jump the shark in some way, and especially, you know what, if I've provided some cool stuff for you, like you like this, the weird like Mongolian Amish tieflings, then I'm very happy for that too. That I've been able to give you some cool things to think about. Entertainment and just continuing to do something here that hopefully not just for ourselves but for anyone out there that watches us now in the present or into the future, as these I swear are eventually going to go back up on YouTube. Hi everyone in the future from the past. That's currently the present, but will be the past, the future past tense.
I think you should leave the time travel to divination wizards and those of a suitably graphitic persuasion.
You just need to like set a day aside and that's all you do.
Well, I got to take a vacation to do that, but I need like an actual vacation at some point, which I don't know, maybe maybe in September. September, I really want to plan a hard vacation. Like, I'm not going to adjust anything on Discord. I'm not going to, I have nothing to reset. Hopefully for all of you out there that are holding on to minis, we'll be able to get your stuff sent out to you. Obviously, like Coffee and others who have stuff I got to paint up.
Nice.
I understand. But anyway, I'm hoping, here we go. Let's leap into fall. And I'll have a vacation of at least uploading stuff for work instead of. Yeah. Anyway, that's all whatever's. And thank yous and et ceteras and so forth. Hitherto unto fours, so on, et cetera, to perpetuity. Signed me to you. But anyway, yes, we have 3 broadcasters among our 4 here. We have Dark Wolf, Lethality, and Coffee Cat, who all, of course, enjoy RPGs.
Of course.
And if I were to guess, I'm playing the guessing game. Let's see how well I know you. Dark Wolf, when she streams video game RPG, and might be a fan of Kingdom Hearts. But is currently going through some independent RPG.
You should do a playthrough of 3 Dark Wolf.
Of which one?
3.
Kingdom Hearts 3?
Yeah, plus Remind. Because it's on PC now.
Yeah. I mean, I have it on PlayStation. I want to read about it.
Lethality. I'm getting a signal. Through the gathering of nerds, enjoys also role-playing games, is involved in Minecraft, and also broadcasts some other RPGs. Had concluded recently-ish a Vampire the Masquerade 5th Edition Chronicle, Brisbane by night, and you of course have your thumb in many a pie here, as you. You're not going to broadcast it, if I recall correctly, but you are going to be running some Shadowrun.
Yes.
And by the way, sir, you might be well. All right, you might be happy and sad to know that I have invested this week in carrying Shadowrun at the store. However, it is the current 6th edition, and I know that's not your favorite, or at least from what I've understood. you talking about?
I mean, they're gonna get people into the game, and that's
But-
the important bit. And they still like the books that they released recently, like with the Crime Catalog and No Future. I mean, those books have SR5 stats in them too, so it's fine.
Oh, all right. Well then, I just so you know, my exposure to I knew about Shadowrun before, and of course all the memes about like you just need cubes of d6s and everything. But I will say that I would have not been so bold to take a chance on stocking Shadowrun in the store if I had not gotten to experience you running it. So, if that part of the store crashes and burns and never pays for itself again, I wish you a long and painful death. And if it actually turns into something that people will enjoy and I can actually flip a couple books, awesome, thank you.
Be the change you want to see in the world, everybody. Be the change you want to see in the world.
But ultimately, yeah. So you have delved into, you delve into these. I don't want to say like off-brand. Like D&D is like, oh, that's the name brand, right? It's almost like saying Kleenex instead of tissue. Oh, you play D&D? Oh yes, I enjoy role-playing games. All right, I mean, there's overlap, but Wrath and Glory I also have on my shelf, and I flipped a couple of those too. And of course, I'm a fan of World of Darkness, as I have played I've played vampires plural and mages plural, and you dabble in all those, and so it's really cool that you not only run those for people, but you're teaching these other roleplay systems that are outside the norm. Just like with Dark Wolf, you're playing these RPGs outside the norm, to experience them for herself, but also for anyone watching. You're like, oh, I haven't heard of this. Maybe I like this now because I've been exposed to it. And then I come over to my dear gushing over you all to Coffee, who does broadcast San Antonio by night, currently in the present, as well as, if you can, you squeeze in some caffeine fixes, which are art streams.
Yes, on the rare occasion.
Yeah, when you can, if something happens. And I would urge you all to also stop out, because there is a rather large hashtag family that has grown. And if I am to remain in nostalgia mode, it has been wonderful to have you come aboard. Like, I met you, Coffee, on a random raid on a random night by an artist who in that time frame was just so happening to also be broadcasting in D&D, saw some schlub, took a chance on me, and raided over. And at that point, if I recall, I mean, you might have heard of D&D, but you hadn't roleplayed much by that point, correct?
I had, but it wasn't consistent.
Okay. And
I was running my own game at the time.
And you went, oh, whoa, what is this?
Oh, whoa.
And here we are now in this game, in this 5th ed game 3 years later. But in that time, you also went on to step up in a side RPG, like not the Kleenex of D&D, of role-playing of D&D, but in
the vampire tissue.
And you took on the role of storyteller, and now you are in your 2nd Chronicle in San Antonio. And
yep, we're coming up on our 2nd year anniversary for the Chronicle, the Chronicle series.
Oh my
in
god!
October. Yep.
Look, I'm gonna see. Here's the thing. VTM is Kleenex too. It's just stained with blood and viscera and other fluids.
Oh, they're the pre-moisturized Kleenex.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the pre-moisturized Kleenex. You need a dermal-based iron infusion.
And so I'm very happy to see that. I mean, all of us, and then I'm going to gush over you too, even though you don't broadcast Fluffy. But just everything that's happened in this time is just it's amazing. And I think that we're all just we're gonna grow old together, and we're gonna be those old men from Cowboy Bebop, just sort of like telling stories about things that have happened, forever ago. And we're very fun side characters and other people's stories along the way. At some point, after we've had our own awesome epic adventures. Now it's my turn to gush over Fluffy, who, of course, Fluffy I also met through kind of a random. I wouldn't say it's a raid. But through pure random circumstance. Yeah, maximum random. I had the fortune to be on the front page of Twitch for 1 hour a long time ago. And Fluffy randomly was there, randomly was watching at a random time, saw some random dude, and came aboard, gave the workshop a chance, hung out with us, and when the casting call went out, stepped forward. Pardon me. To step forward to play.
It was the Plague Doctor suit that did it.
And I oh shoot, I don't have that on my shelves over here, but yeah, I still have the mask and everything too. And you stepped up, and especially you've brought a lot to the table. I mean, Bright has been a fascinating character.
I love her so much.
In an interesting sense too, because I know when we were beginning, Fluffy was on the fence between two characters. Of course, one of them was Bright, but in an alternate world somewhere out there, I'm trying to remember. Fluffy, so shame on me. I'm gushing over you, but I forgot what your secondary character was. It was a barbarian, right?
Nope, a bard.
It was a bard. Okay, well, it begins with a B. That was close.
And just my concept for the alternate character was not that different from Bright in certain abilities, because he would have been modeled more on the mule from Foundation. So not really a good character, more of someone who was basically an alien who did not know that he was an alien, and that would have been not literally an alien, because Foundation was humans, even though it was space opera, but who might as well have been, and that was the source of that would have been the origin of his bardic powers. So I don't know. It's not a bad character concept. I may yet play him someday, but for now, I'm quite happy with Bright.
Absolutely. But I have to wonder now, like in this other world, what would Chroma Company have been if this other bard? Would that have led still to Mordecai? Would we have been a dual bard party? Or, what... Again, you drop one stone in the ocean, and it changes the entire ocean forever with the ripple effects.
I mean, Mordecai technically was a rando character that I threw together in the course of a night, because you randomly said, I am down a person in the cast, I need some help me.
Well, I mean, I reckon if that were the case, the party would look like Mordecai, this bard, Casimir, and Cypher.
Oh,
It's an all boy party.
Yeah. What a mix. But Fluffy, then of course you had picked up you started your own side game that you don't broadcast, but that's been going on for a while too, and it's with other members of the community. So while I only ever get to hear little bits about things that happen, I will tell you,
one of those members of the community is in this game.
Yes.
Yeah. Deep down, I was super happy to hear that others had gotten to meet other people in this community and have gone on to run other games and to do, whether it's broadcast or not, just to interact with each other outside of anything that I do. And that was super meaningful to me, just as a personal milestone of, wow, maybe there's actually something to this. Trying to take this concept of the game store and a place to meet and a place to act as like a hub world of similar interests. And
Derek
so
also
Fluffy,
started broadcasting Vampire as well.
what's that?
Derek also started
Yeah.
broadcasting Vampire. Detroit Motor City started after this game started.
That's true. Yeah, he stepped up and he went through a move and a career shift, and so
I
shout
also
out.
went through a move and career shift.
It's like life keeps happening here. I will give an honorary shout out to Macabre Derek, who is currently streaming, I believe. Yeah. Although
He's currently streaming art.
He is. He is actually in the Vampire the Masquerade. I mean, maybe, I think you can get away with it because they're vampire characters, though. I don't know if he meant to be under the art category. I don't think anyone's gonna knock down his channel.
No, he's working specifically on the new Chronicle illustrations.
Ah, yes, Edmonton. So
Yep, Edmonton by Night Blood Sands.
Canadian vampires, y'all.
Yep. My character is still American, but she's stuck in Canada.
So please go check out Derek. Awesome dude. And he may seem like a super scary dude who's rough around the corners. But I assure you, he's both of those things. It's not just seeming. He is an awesome guy, though. Like, in all seriousness.
He does what it says on the tin.
And yeah, he does what it says on the tin. And what's great is he can be gruff or blunt, or he doesn't mind talking about being on the boobs and blood bandwagon, as he says. But that man will teach you the craft. He'll explain things. And at the end of the day, I am convinced he actually has a still beating heart in his chest. And does care about people deeply, which honestly is why he does what he does, and is at the soul of art, of course. But especially if we talk about horror, you can't enjoy horror if you don't feel feelings, if you don't understand the human condition, and he excels at that. So, a shout out to our still arguably currently 5th player character. I mean, Jade's had an impact. A lasting impact ever since Derek
Jade's patron is the BBEG of this game. Goddamn.
Yeah, I mean Jade/Jacob/Jaden, and Salter as well. Salter's still having an impact in the game.
I love Salter.
Sassy Southern Dragonborn rogue who takes no shit.
Just take what you want.
And that well, yeah, she takes no shit. But if you've got gold,
she'll take that.
Yeah.
And biomass too.
If she wants it, she'll take it.
So for all of you here, I swear I've finished my looking back, my thank yous, my the things that just really also motivate me to want to continue to look forward to Tuesdays, to broadcast, and Tuesdays are just something that have become very special, and I very much appreciate this time with you all. So, I think we should hop into the game. Now, tonight is going to be a mix of, I think, some in-character and out-of-character, as we are, you all have hit level 16, so obviously we can talk about out-of-character, mechanical things, because you all, I'd like to know what you did for 16, so I can consider it, or we can develop it into, like, I don't know if any of you took a feat, or if this is just you, if you took an ASI, like, what have you done to, take a stat bump or something? Oh my goodness. Fluffy, thank you for the re-up.
If Derek has a still beating heart, Terry's someone out there who's missing a heart.
Look, I wasn't gonna say it, but I'm also not gonna deny it, Fluffy. Uh, thank you very much. But yeah, so I'd like to know what you all did for level 16. And this is also my reminder that out of character, this is the final level that you have more... I want to say like more freedom to do things. I'm not going to put you on a track and you only have to do what I say from 17 to 20. But in those last 3 epic levels, there is going to be a greater pressure, a greater direct threat than options to pursue, than things along those lines. And so tonight we can, establish ourselves as level 16 characters, discuss in character. We can catch up on, hey, so what's been going on? Oh, you had a crisis of faith. That's cool. I started a river trading company. And, just you compare notes. Maybe not everything is equal in some form or fashion. I want to still react more to what you all are proposing or doing. There's a couple hooks that I can throw out. So if you want to nibble on them, you can. If you got something else in mind, again, it's not like there's impending doom, but it's nebulous. And it hasn't quite crystallized, or it hasn't quite... it's been on the horizon, but you couldn't see much beyond just like a shadow. But now a form will, appear shortly. That will be speedily, becoming a big threat, or several. So yeah, I'm fine doing some in and out of character. We can have some downtime activities if you want as well. If there's still things that you wish to pursue. Or if there's a specific adventure that you want to try and go on, then we can start down that path as well. So there's not a lot of pressure from me, because this is congratulations on leveling up. You've come to some big revelations, I think, with yourselves and with the story and everything that's been presented. And let's let everything settle back down, sift through it, and find out where we're gonna go from here. I will then open the scene to all of you. You're having a big group hug out here in a goat pen, just out in the middle of nowhere, Mesomasca. Teleport over country, and lethality. I will say that your camera frozen like this has you looking like a guard in Metal Gear, having noticed someone suspicious sneaking past. As you are contemplative, and you have an exclamation point above your head. But yes, so here you are. If you want to say or do anything before... I think there's slight pressure to leave because the locals are getting restless. That being said, y'all could just nuke this whole village and probably none of them could stop you. So it's really your call what you want to do.
No.
We're not evil. Jesus.
No. This
love
village
you.
has...
You have the option to be here.
And not to mention that would only prove trade and the others right.
That guy be right.
That would be proving trade and the others right, and that's a bad thing. No, you know what we need to do? At some point, these guys need just super protecting.
Mm-hmm.
We need to protect them from what comes.
Well, then you have a village that there's a rabble-rousing contentiousness within it, but you also have vocal supporters, and a lot of people are just like, eh.
We're the city folk. We haven't really ingratiated ourselves just yet. probably is a good idea to head back home. At least for the time being.
Yeah.
Don't want to overstay our welcome.
No, we do not.
Okay. Then if you were concluded here, I believe that I did have Norallie roll 5d20s to get home, making sure
Yep,
that
she
there
already
were
did
no erroneous effects from summoning a bunch of 2 giant eagles to hoist your custom...
Yeah, I got 2 nat 20s.
Yep.
It was a safe trip.
Ooh, pardon. Very well. So, yep, you you fly over the western half of Mesomasca, and it is officially summer. We're past the solstice. Things are cool, not cold, but they are cool. But probably pretty comfortable. And the port area is still... Oh.
Norallie is whispering something about sandwiches.
Okay. I mean, it's absolutely in character, so... but yes, the port...
I mean, it would be cookies, not sandwiches.
Well, okay, that's true. Sandwich cookies.
Oreos.
Yeah. On on the approach, there's still damage that was done to the city because there were fires. There's also a lot less people living here now, but you've also seen areas that have been rebuilt, and even so I'll say modernized, but the modernization would be further Shadowheart influence. Especially in the wake of properties that have been destroyed or ruined. It's all the more that the Shadowheart can either help rebuild, either out of generosity or just to get their claws in Mesomasca a little bit more, opportunities to buy property or something along those lines. So, I mean, feel what you will, but there's even more Shadowheartization to the city, but it's still here, and people aren't running from the undead. There's still a lot of boats that are coming and going, both the traditional watery type and the aeronautical, and anything for Celine and especially Mordecai. I'll leave to Bright and Norallie to fill you in on their details and such. I just want to set the stage. And the conversation could be had in the air too. You don't have to be in the city if you want to say something to prepare them for what they're going to see. But I will put this back on you. This scene could be either in this coach, a sky coach, if you will, or it could be back in the city.
Wasn't it more of a basket?
Kind of.
Yep, all of that.
Well, it was like a carriage. It was like a carriage without wheels.
Because I don't like to fly coach.
Hey, Lamau.
Oh, you got me there.
Hey.
Yeah, Bright's a first-class wizard.
Yep. She's bougie. But yeah, if they've caught us up on what's been going on with the orphanage that they're crafting and all of that, then Mordecai's actually going to be pretty stoked about that. It seems like a good venture to go on.
Yeah. Oh, someone's making noise.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, I thought you might be interested in the orphanage. I mean, your name is Mordecai after all. But what? There's a lot of background noise today.
Yeah.
Sorry, my sister came in.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, Celine, your skull is hanging in the front room. So, but it doesn't really look like you now. So, we
Yeah,
don't have to tell anyone.
That's a little weird, I think. I don't know what all that's about. I don't even know how that's going to work.
I don't know. They just kind of like give us money if we put certain things for rejects there, and I didn't want that much, but I also, it's a good deal to give a little bit of money in there. So
Yeah, and it's not like they've really asked for anything that's out of line. Everything they've asked for has either been something that we were probably going to do anyway, or that wasn't a big ask. I think the biggest ask actually was putting the Ouija's decorations in the front hallway. But
yeah,
I mean, I understand if you don't like it. At the time, we thought you were dead, and we thought it would be a good way to honor you.
I mean, it's...
It can stay.
Yeah, it can stay. It's part of this city's culture. I mean... It's weird coming back. We weren't here for very long before we disappeared, and now we're back, and now we're setting things up that are permanent.
And
I
I
hope they're
mean, you know,
permanent.
then there's the matter of our base.
Right. Yeah, that's still jarring. I mean, we were passed out for a month.
Yeah. And we have no idea how long we spent up on those mountains.
The fact that we didn't freeze to death up there, that's...
Well, I
with-
mean, wouldn't Norallie and Bright know how long it's been? I mean, we didn't get out of time.
I
Yeah.
mean, you'd know how long we've been gone, like total, but the thought is more, we don't really know how long we spent up on the mountain. Like how long we were in the depth dimension versus how long we were up on the mountain.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah,
did
yeah.
something funny happen on the mountain? Or did you just, lose track of time?
That's where we were found passed out, and we were asleep for 20 days after we were found, but we don't know how long we were up on the mountain before that.
Oh. Well, I mean, they could check and see how long your fingernails grew.
Yeah, take a peek at that.
Well, to be fair, I don't know that that's going to be something that we can actually track, because we lost limbs when we came back from Ouija's.
you have
Yeah.
5.
But not all of your limbs, right?
No, like, we're
Yeah.
whole now. As
Now.
whole as one can be. But do you know how hard it is to keep your balance without a tail when you've had one all your life?
I mean, I've never had any trouble with that.
But you're not a creature that has a tail naturally. Having one and then suddenly not having it, that's jarring.
Yeah.
Like, I know my tail doesn't wag or swish or much at all, but it's key to my balance.
Except when you're blushing.
Yeah, you don't switch your tail a lot. I switch my tail.
I mean, it's
Now
It's
I wish
just
I had a
not-
tail.
I mean,
It's
it
fun.
does what it does absently. I don't control it half the time. It's just like, I don't have to consciously think about it when I have to maintain my balance because I don't have to shift my weight like I would without it. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. I don't know how to explain it to people who don't have tails.
If it, I mean, it wouldn't help the fingernail suggestion, but you were also cared for at some point when you were unconscious, which did include, bathing and cleaning and feeding, but that also, like, she kept you, like, she didn't let you get all, like, gnarly or anything. Like, she would have trimmed your nails and kept you in a state that when you could wake up, you'd be
okay.
as ready as, like, and functional as possible.
Yeah, the people there were nice enough to care for us while we were asleep.
That's good.
But yeah, we could go take a look at this orphanage that you've been putting together.
It's pretty nice.
I do want to stop by a jewelry shop in the morning, though.
Oh, I know a jewelry shop.
You do?
Not that jewelry shop. The one where we're still allowed in.
No, I'm talking about the one my boyfriend owns.
What?
Well then.
Boyfriend?
Oh, yeah. His name is Hiran. I met him at a gala, and so I accidentally turned everyone blue, but he's already a blue tiefling, so it doesn't really matter. And he owns a jewelry store, and he's really nice.
Oh, that's new.
I didn't know he had a jewelry shop. He didn't tell me very much. She only tells me little bits and pieces here and there.
Well, it's his dad's jewelry shop, but, he works.
Oh, okay.
I know that we've been out of the loop. But you didn't tell Bright about this?
Oh, I knew about him. I
know-
just don't know very much about him.
Well, she's studying all the time, so I didn't want to bother her too much with it.
Don't study that
Okay.
much. I go out on recess with the other kids.
I mean, that makes more sense.
Yeah, but that's your
Okay.
recess time.
That's an interesting development. Is he treating you well?
Mhm.
Good, because I will have words with a man who treats you wrongly.
Oh, and speaking of Mordecai, speaking so here's a funny thing. Gaspard is working for us.
He's still alive. Okay.
Yeah. Kinda.
I made it make sense because he's resourceful and, I didn't expect him to have died, but he's kind of old.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that. I mean, I wish he was maybe 300 years younger.
He never actually told me his age.
Right, you're like
But based
2000.
on his appearance, he looks like he's middle-aged or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, that'll be fun.
Yeah. That's gonna be a thing. I haven't seen him in, I guess on his perspective, 13 years?
Yeah, probably longer from yours. Well, 13 years isn't that long for a gnome. I'm sure he'll still remember you.
No.
But you,
I just look way older now.
I mean, you can't look older than him. Oh, I'm sorry, I did. I mean, I guess. I mean, you parted on good terms, right? Right?
No,
I'm making the meme face, right?
I just kind of vanished after
Yeah, but-
Corinna died.
But that
And
happens all
so-
the time with people in the circus. I mean, I'm sure
Well,
he'll understand.
I was his apprentice.
Okay, well, that's gonna make it a little worse.
From the age of 16 to 19. And
Okay,
19 is when I left Oldport entirely.
Well, by 19, aren't you usually kind of done being an apprentice? I mean, for tieflings, because you don't live as long.
Well, I was on the verge. Well, this is kind of where things get a little bit, future plans. And, we had, plans, me and Corinna, to go to the capital. She would study magic at the university and wizard school there, and then I would open up my own shop, for tinkering and, things of that sort. And that all fell apart when she died.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And
but
so
that's
I just
that's a big
left.
deal. I'm sure he'll understand.
Maybe.
I'm sure he'll be glad you're still alive. I'm sure he'll just be glad you're still alive.
He's kind of crotchety. At least he was.
You know, I think he's loosened up a little. He hasn't really been that much of a grump. He's actually, I mean, he does enslave the souls of the damned, so that's a thing. But aside from that, he's actually kind of nice.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're making a friend. Another gnome and everything.
Yeah, there aren't very many of us. He's still the only one I've met. At least, since we've been here, since we started the orphanage.
Mm-hmm. Well, at some point we're gonna run into him. Best
Yeah,
not
that'll
to
probably
avoid
be in a few hours.
that. Is it evening? Night? Right now?
Yeah, probably. As you're approaching, you'll probably, especially if it's a solstice. Yeah, it'll be later. But or I think it's the day after. Anyway, it's a long day. Yeah, so by the time you arrive, the sun will probably be just below the horizon. So there might be some light in the sky. But it'll be nighttime, or just at least late overall.
Okay. Later in the day.
Yeah.
Would he still be working this late?
You never really know. It depends. Sometimes he stays up late, and sometimes he doesn't. You know how it is with mad scientists.
He's a strange one, yeah. But I think that's why him and I got along quite well when we did. We can go do that. Or we can go to the jewelry store. Or,
The
whatever.
jewelry store's probably closed. Unless
Well,
Norallie
go.
wants to get us a special after hours thing.
No, you can just go tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can go tomorrow.
Alright.
We're not in any rush.
No. No rush. Okay. Then let's go to the orphanage and see what the progress is on what you've done.
All right. You know what? I should have added something that would be like the orphanage slide, something that would be more like that. But for now, we'll say that we have some construction going on. This is still in the city, so it's not quite the town center where you had the fight against the undead. But we'll use this for the time being. As yeah, there's still the air traffic overhead. There's people on the ground. But yeah, you have a building that is under construction, and Celine and Mordecai, you see that while there's no obviously living people who are working on the building. You do see what appear to be people in full suits of armor working. And as you get close, they are humanoid in appearance, but just have a rather weird posture. Their movements are not natural. But they're doing heavy lifting. They're moving blocks and they're lifting timbers and such.
Mordecai kind of quickens his pace a little bit to go get a closer look at them.
Yeah, those are the, they call them, what, are they all called jacks, or is it just the one that Gaspard uses himself?
No, his is they're all called Kyburners. And I'll spell it out.
Kyburners, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But his is in particular a jack.
Kyburners. But sometimes we call them Jack for short. And, remember how I said he enslaves the souls of the damned? Yeah, he uses them for those. It's the same technology that powers the airships. But now that I know that we would just be eating them anyway, I don't even know if it's really all that bad.
Yeah, it's all sorts of wonky when it comes to spirits and things.
So if we just eats the souls of people that die, then how do they... I don't know. It seems like that raises a lot of questions. Like, who are all the people that lived in Oiho?
Old.
What do you mean, old?
I mean, they're very old spirits.
You mean, like, from before there was Ouijas? Before anyone started eating souls? Really shouldn't eat souls. I really don't approve of it.
And then, out of character, it was also a battlefield for giants.
Yeah.
So, there's also all of that implies.
Right.
The giants and the dragons were at war over the humans, I guess.
Yeah. I guess I just didn't realize that there were no new souls going to Oiho. So if the Shadowhar is taking power out of Oiho in the form of souls of the damned, then it should be getting pretty empty. I mean, they're gonna run out. They'll run out of souls in Oiho just like we're running out of water here.
And the north is freezing, and all sorts of different, really weird weather phenomenons. The fact that it's so cold, and it's summer.
The middle of summer.
Like, I'm used to sweltering summers.
Yeah, me too. It is pretty cold up here. I mean, that's why sometimes you don't notice because I just do it real quiet like, but sometimes I prestidigitate to heat my dress.
Yeah, because this is abnormal weather.
Well, we know what we can think of that.
That's Shunneruth devouring the planet.
Celine, do me a favor. During this conversation, I want you to roll a history. Not a history. Roll a religion, please.
I can do either, but I would prefer to do religion.
Oof.
Something about the conversation is like there's a thought that wants to bubble up, but you're having trouble. So like there's it's getting something to the front of your mind, but you're having difficulty concentrating on what it could be. But there's for the things that you're talking about or questioning, there's something that just seems to want to surface. I don't know, maybe like after a meal or a hot bath or something, like it'll just sort of dislodge itself and float to the surface.
Yeah. A hot bath.
Yeah, this world is dying. That's what's happening. That's what Shunneruth is doing. So, and we've more or less been tasked with getting rid of the infection, so at some point we should look into that. But these are cool.
What did you find?
Well, they're just these Kai burners. I just.
Oh yeah, they're fun. I mean, definitely something that only a rock gnome could invent, in my opinion.
I don't doubt a forest gnome would come up with something similar.
We'd make it a lot cuter. And probably not as good at lifting things. I mean, that's really not our thing. We just, we grow plants and breed animals. We don't really build machines that often.
As one of these machines, it doesn't stop its work, but it's walking towards you all, perhaps to go to some other place that it needed to. It stops for a moment and looks down at you, Bright, and over to you, Norallie. And with a weird, they've never really talked before, but now this one seems to, with almost a vibrating tone. Good evening, Bright and Norallie. And it then continues to walk off where it needed to go.
Well, that's new.
They didn't do that before.
Huh.
A new addition.
Looks like, yeah. We'll have to talk to Gaspard about that and find out. Like, can they think, or can they just be programmed to notice things? Because, I mean, I've got, like, my alarm spell, and it can recognize people, and then it knows to let them in or not. So that's not really that different. But on the other hand, if it can actually think and, like, recognize and know who someone is and what they're all about, that's,
Well, Gaspard usually tells us if he does something really cool.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll let us know.
Is he not around? I look around to see if I can see someone else here.
No. It's just there's now 5 metallic humanoids, just kind of doing lifting and carrying stuff. Not too noisily. None of them, they might be aware of you, none of them speak to you. Although Bright and Norallie, you could predict that he's probably at home, if not because of the hour. Just because he's home doesn't mean he's asleep, though, because he probably stays up nights rearranging plans and scheming and whatnot. But where he usually keeps his jack, that area is empty. So he would have taken it with him.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense. Okay, well, we probably don't, I mean, if we just want to go by and say hello, we probably don't need to disturb him. But if something's, I don't know. We could always play a prank on him. Does that sound like fun?
It's a very bright thing to do.
I mean,
I think me being alive is maybe prank enough.
Yeah, here's what I'm thinking. We oh, this is fun. So what we can do is you can put on a disguise spell. Or no, this is even better. You can go in just looking like yourself. And then he'll be surprised, and then you can reveal by putting on a disguise spell that really you're just Norallie, and we thought we were playing a prank on him. But then later, you reveal that you're actually Eve after all.
I don't have any disguise spells.
I can do it for you.
Okay. I think that sounds fun. It's gonna be awkward anyway. Might as well break the awkwardness. What do you think, Celine?
I think that this sounds like a wonderful idea. Things have been far too serious for my tastes as of late.
Yeah, a little levity. Why not? It's harmless.
Okay. So, that's what we'll do. I'll just use a seeming, so I can cast a disguise on Mordecai. Norallie, can you use thaumaturgy to throw your voice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, this is gonna go well.
Celine, I'm sorry I don't have anything fun for you in this plan.
Oh, it's fine.
You can watch, that'll be fun.
Oh, and by the way, there's your skull adorning the foyer of the orphanage.
Yeah.
That's
it is.
not weird.
I mean, I would say it's weird to see your own skull, but I mean, I spent about 3,000 years seeing it every time I looked in a mirror, so it's not really that weird.
Oh, you have a bonding moment between you two.
I've also seen it.
Yeah, you have seen your skull. Oh, yeah, that's true.
And Bright tried to
Mordecai's the weird one. You haven't seen your skull, Mordecai?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
I haven't seen my own skull. I suppose I'm glad for that.
Celine,
Yeah, it's not fun.
Celine does take a glimpse at it.
Uh-huh.
An artifact of something I once was, and am no longer.
Wait, Celine, if the only people in Oiho are old souls from before Ouijas, then how did Norallie get there?
I don't get that.
Specifically captured by Mercury, I bet.
I wouldn't be
So
surprised.
does she have like a ghost vacuum? Or something? That could really be useful.
Maybe
Oh.
she did.
Well, she pulled me into the dark place, and then I don't remember what happened after that. But yeah.
The duck. You mean
Okay.
where it's like a dark place where there's a light above you and it extends into infinity and
I wouldn't say it's a light, but yeah, that's basically it.
wait, you've seen that too?
Yeah, we've. I've been in there a few times.
How about you two? Have you seen it? Looks to Mordecai and Bright.
I've only
Yeah,
been there once and I didn't stay long. I
that
didn't
was
like
what.
it.
Wasn't that what we saw when Symphonics took us?
Yeah, but I didn't go with Symphonics. I saw it a lot more recently. I actually don't remember what session it was. But I definitely was in there one time. Because we were all like wandering around and trying to find each other in the dark. It was a whole big thing. But I actually don't, out of character, I don't
It's
remember.
also there in Oiho.
Yeah, then we've all been there several times.
I've just been there once.
You know, for all of the things that have happened to us, wouldn't you think that going to the same place multiple times that all of us have been there is just a little strange?
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time we went there together. So it's not that strange.
Celine, go ahead and make another religion, as this conversation might be working that bubble through. Nope, brain
Can I
fart.
assist? Can I assist and grant her advantage?
No, this is for reasons that will come about. This is
Once I figure out what it is.
Once she figures out what it is, you can help her with it.
Yes.
Help me remember the thing I forgot. What'd you forget? I don't know. I don't remember.
When I remember it, I'll let you know.
But yeah, then each entity we've run into is more or less put us there. There was Symphonics.
Mm.
There was the time in Oiho. There was...
When I kind of became half.
Yeah.
In the desert. And Jack.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a thing. Where'd Jack get off to?
I thought he disappeared after Orlan's. Oh yeah. God, that's insensitive of me.
Wait, who's Jack? Did I forget about Jack?
That was the little fey fox.
Little fey fox that was when I was Scalene,
Jack,
he was providing the illusion to make me look like not Scalene.
Yeah, I remember Jack. I assume he's not related to this Jack. But,
no.
I mean, being that one of them is a fox and the other one is a machine. But you never know. Stranger things have happened.
Oh, I hope not.
He disappeared after Orlan's was killed.
Sure, because he was a servant of Orlan's, and so he was either died along with him or he was released. I guess we don't really know.
And when we were trying to escape and you were running, your illusion had dropped. But that's when the giant clergyman stabbed you.
The Fomorian. And you know, when looking in the eyes of Ouija, she kind of reminded me of a Fomorian as well. You don't know.
She did kind of give me that vibe, yeah. Giant created and everything. According to the story. Which, looking back on it, I don't know that was Ouija singing that song.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's probably not at this point. But who Who else could it be? Do you think there are some Fomorian survivors or some, ancient person with immortal magic or something? I don't know what to think.
She said, "To all of my children." That was part of the song. Maybe it was the lands. That's the story from her perspective.
I mean, the land doesn't really talk. I mean, look, I can dig holes in it. I'll use a mold earth on convenient dirt. See, it doesn't say ow when I do that. I don't know if the land can.
I can guarantee you it can talk, Bright.
She is an entity. She feels, she mourns, she cries. She's dying.
And it's Shonarith's fault.
Are you sure there's not more to it? Like some kind of ancient something? That just draws power from the land, or lives under the ground, or has some other kind of connection?
I'm pretty sure I spoke to her. Because I asked her, "Do you accept our help in ridding you of this infection?" And she said yes. And I was specifically aiming to speak to her.
And she cried. The statue split, and the water came rushing down, cleansing us and making us whole. Hence why, I'm not missing a foot and several ribs and other things, and Mordecai's not missing his tail.
Among other things.
So how'd you lose the tail?
Yes. It was bleeding profusely. I was in and out of consciousness.
I
But
have
how?
I have the luck blade, right?
Yeah.
It, Celine will basically, draw out the great sword and show that I'm guessing it probably had gems that are now cracked on the pommel or something to represent how many wishes it had or something like that.
Yeah, I think that works. At one point there were three gems, and none of them have luster. They've all just sort of become muted versions of themselves.
And Celine holds up, and in the pommel of the sword she gestures to the gems. One of these had luster, and now it does not.
Even without the wishes, it's still a powerful item. It's probably worth good money. Might be able to trade it to Selter.
Well, even just the protective properties of it, just by holding it, by keeping it on your person.
Yeah. Don't you have to be wielding it? I don't remember.
Nope. You only have to hold it to get the +1 to all saves. It's kind of amazing like that.
It's kind of big, though, just to carry around.
It also
I can use
doesn't
it as
have
a
a
back shield.
scabbard.
It's bigger than me!
To be fair,
But a lot
regular
of things are
longbow
bigger
would
than
be
you.
bigger than you, Bright.
I know, but okay, fine.
It's bigger than two of you, maybe. Does that make you feel better, Bright?
Yeah, it does kind of poke out up above your head when you carry it on your back there, Celine. Being shorter than you were now.
Yes, being 5'8" instead of 6'1".
Mm-hmm. You used to be an inch taller than me. Change of perspective, isn't it?
Yes, and now I'm shorter, and I bet that makes you real happy.
Why would that make any difference to me?
Norallie just steps over to Mordecai and just does a quick measure.
So, actually, that's a good question. When tieflings measure their height, do you include the horns? Or is it like, I'm like 5'9" without horns, but 6'2" with them? How does it work?
Measure without them, because to make measurements simple for horned and hornless, to include the horns because they can come in varying sizes and shapes.
Some go straight up, some go loopy back like his.
Some people only just have a
some
nub,
down.
depending how much infernal lineage they have. I'm half tiefling, and I ended up with the horns I did. So if being
I think I'll
tiefling
stick
is-
with floofs.
Yeah. So many don't include horns in their height because not all creatures have horns, and not all creatures have horns of the same size.
I imagine we're making our way over to Gaspard's as we're talking.
If you want to go
That's
to
my
his
thought.
place, yeah, it's you know where
Yeah.
he's at.
Yeah,
That's my thought.
We were gonna prank him. It'll be fun.
Okay. I have Gaspard's place.
So I am 6 feet tall, not including my horns.
I'm 5'9".
Tail length and girths. Oh my god, that thing.
I was smaller, but things happen.
Wild magic tends to fiddle with your height, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
It did to mine.
This bit, that's fair enough. You were 6'1" and then you went 5'9" back in the flower field?
It wasn't
Something like
a
that?
flower field.
Is that
I was 5'4" when we met.
5'4"? That's
Yeah,
so
that's
small.
It's only 4 inches shorter.
I think I also hit my growth spurt at some point, so.
Growth spurts usually happen between the age of 14 and 16, Norallie.
I was 16 when we met.
It was more of a magic spurt.
Actually, no, how old was Yeah, no, I was 16 when we met.
God. It seems like so long ago.
Yeah, I'm almost 20.
Has it been that long? Time gets wibbly wobbly around here.
I mean, Bright's like 3,000, so.
Yeah, but most of those are infernal years.
Yeah.
I can't.
Last time I checked. Well, last time I calculated, anyway. I don't feel like I've hit 30 yet. But according to this world, I would be 33 now.
Yeah.
I look
Sometimes
like I'm
I don't
45.
feel like I'm 30 either.
I look like I'm 45. God, these
Yeah.
crow's feet are going to bother me.
And I couldn't tell you how old I am.
Like I said, time is wibbly wobbly.
Especially when you're dead. Oh. Well, yeah, dead.
I guess we've traded spots, huh?
Mm-hmm. And I suppose you could say now you know. Now you know what it's like.
So, Celine, now that you've turned away from Weejazz, is she going to smite you, or what's gonna happen now?
I wouldn't be surprised if at some point she came after us. Kind of half expecting it, honestly.
And when she does, like an artifact of the old world, she too will be removed.
Celine, yet again, there's this weird feeling at the current conversation.
Religion check?
Yeah.
I'm gonna guidance this one. I'm gonna ask. I'm going to query the land to give me a little bit of assistance, and I get a D4.
Ooh.
19. Finally,
She's smiling on you.
I have a +5. Why
So-
does it keep wrong?
Finally, finally this idea comes to the surface after a couple conversational prompts, and the one that jarred it loose was Bright's question about, is she gonna get upset? Is she gonna smite you? Like, is there rules to this? What's gonna happen here? And you recall back in the. Did I put that one away? I might have put. Yeah, I think. Let's see. Did I call this? Did I call this sunken? I did. And so when you were here, you had snuck ahead, and you heard voices that were yelling, right? Because you were the one that went down to the end of the tunnel first.
Grimhilda and Loki.
And standing before this light was who you pretty well have discerned to be Grimhilder. And Grimhilder shouted some pretty nasty things to Weejas and invoked some kind of agreement. Before the conversation was ended and things took its course.
She did try to invoke some kind of agreement that we just owed her. And Grimhilda was exceptionally lacking in power herself, what with the fact that Mercury had been dealt with to the point where Mercury could no longer grant her power. Or out of character, it could be that Gary succeeded in killing her. He murdered his mommy.
He probably would have told us if he did.
Well, just because he managed to do it doesn't necessarily mean he would be able to get back out.
Norallie, all his note mentioned was Casimir and the 5-headed dragon girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, yes, Casimir and the Tiamat analog. Oh boy.
Yeah, he would have if he did kill Miss Mercury, he would have mentioned it.
And I thought Fairy said that she had run into Mercury, or at least what she thought was Mercury.
She thought she heard
She
Mercury's
thought
voice in
she-
the tunnels.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that she did though, or she might have mistaken her voice for another.
Mercury may have scrambled away, not necessarily dead, but had to leave.
Yeah.
I mean, Mercury's come to this plane before.
It could also
What's
be
to
that
stop her from doing it now?
Well, it could also
Could
be
we-
that Casimir hunted her. Casimir hunted her out of hell.
Could we send a sending to Mercury?
Why would we do that?
Yeah.
To see if she's alive?
You don't want to poke the bear.
Many fall
I
in the
mean,
face
if
of
we're
chaos,
just
but
talking
not this
about
one.
it. Okay,
Not
today.
but, okay.
I
Why
beg
don't
to
we try
differ.
scrying then instead of
Yeah.
sending?
I can scry as soon as we have 10 minutes. I don't think it'll work on her. Plus, it only works on the same plane. If she's in Oiho or some other place, it won't work.
Well,
But I can give it a try. As soon as we
yeah.
get
Well,
back
let's
to the,
try.
as soon as we get back to the place, to the orphanage, because I can't really do it while we're on the move. I might drop my crystal ball. Have you ever dropped a crystal ball? You don't want to do it.
Never have, but I don't know that sounds fun.
I've
Why would it
never
not be
dropped a
fun?
crystal ball.
Actually,
Just imagine if you dropped an exploding bowling ball.
I would like to send a sending to Mercury.
I mean, it's a legendary item, so I'm sure it wouldn't break, but I don't want to run after it.
It could be pickpocketed.
Not very easy.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm going to attempt to send a sending to Mercury.
Why?
Okay.
I have a plan.
He's poking the bear.
Cypher said that the same thing, and we didn't see him.
She's poking the bear. My mistake.
We haven't seen Cypher, right? No one's seen
We
Cypher.
haven't seen Cypher. It's been like
Have
a
you
year
tried-
since he said he had a plan, so.
Have you gone back to that place to try and call him?
No. I mean, he was already really far away when we were there. I mean, we could just barely see him, and he was going off. It was like he was on a conveyor belt with all these tentacles and things, and it was either go after him or go back home, and we decided to go
Sophie
home.
really doesn't want to go back, so I'm not going to.
But I'm gonna attempt the sending.
Sure.
Does it go off?
No.
Okay. No target.
No
See?
target in that she can't be reached, or no target in that she's dead. There's a difference.
Yes, there is, and I would know that difference because I have done sending multiple times. Is it is it target can't be reached, or there is no target?
There is no target.
Because like with Tiba, target can't be reached.
There is no target. So, very likely that she's dead.
I don't think we could be certain of that unless we talk to Grimhilder.
Well, Grimhilda wouldn't be begging Ouijas for power if Mercury was still around and had the ability to give it.
I mean, you don't know that. She could just be looking for more power.
Her skin
Yeah,
was
that was an
cracked.
option.
Her skin was cracked, and she looked like she was bleeding lava.
That is correct.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
I'm
I
not a
concede
doctor,
bleeding
but I
lava,
don't
okay?
think- I don't
You
think
win,
bleeding
Celine. Is that
lava's
what you
normal.
wanted?
She seemed desperate, screaming that we just owed her.
Yeah. I mean, that's all true, but who knows what Grimhilder's doing? She's always up to something, and it's always no good.
Yeah, that's always no good.
Hmm.
Speaking of which, has anybody seen her since then?
No, and Norallie and I looked for Loki for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then it just kind
Hmm.
of. we started doing other things. Oh, I have a trading boat. So, you know, if we need things, we can order it. Basically.
All right.
Access to trade good. Wow, you have been busy.
Mhm.
1 moment, I have
Been
to
gone
answer this.
6 months. It's been a weird 6 months for you all.
Yeah. Although, not the weirdest 6 months we've ever had.
Yeah, that's pretty valid. We're just a bunch of weirdos.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we get along like family, right?
Which, I mean, yeah, sure.
Do you not think of us as family, Bright?
No, it's just we don't get along like my family. It was very different. So, I don't know. It's just not an analogy that I would have thought of. That's all.
I mean, me and Mordecai get along like family, but I don't think me and Celine get along like family. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just different, that's all.
I guess. Well, that just made things awkward.
Yeah, but on the positive side, it's about to get a lot more awkward.
All right.
So, better doll Norallie had to look like Mordecai then.
No, we're gonna change. So no, here Mordecai goes in, says hello, then I change him to look like Norallie, and then Norallie casts her voice, so that she can, pretend, and then we drop the spell, and he turns back into Mordecai. We reveal him.
Oh,
The good old bait and switch.
even better.
Yeah, we call it the bait and switch and switch. Bait and switch back.
Gaspard's is easily recognizable. It's a very interesting piece of old and new architecture fused together. If you're ready.
We're ready.
Yep. So, we have to go on in, so here we go.
Wait.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
You should change me too, so I don't look like. So I walk in looking like myself, but then you change me when you change Mordecai.
Who do I change you into? Won't that confuse the whole thing? Because then it'll be like, well, this is Norallie, but this isn't actually Norallie. It'll spoil the whole prank.
Well, maybe I shouldn't go in then.
Just make Norallie look like Mordecai and Mordecai look like Norallie.
So they're both here, but which one's the real one?
I mean, we could do that too.
Poor Gaspard's gonna have a heart attack.
Make me look like a kite burner.
Oh.
Okay, that's wonderful. I can do that.
Make me look like a kite-burner, okay.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, so you'll go in and look like a Kai burner, and then we'll switch it so that.
No, I go in as myself, and then you turn me into a kite burner when you turn him into me.
Oh, and that'll be like, oh no, it was just a Kai burner the whole time, and then we can.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be perfect. Okay.
All right, so Norallie is looking like a vaguely humanoid metal thing.
Nope. Everyone looks like themselves at first. That's the beauty of it all. We all go in. Everyone looks like themselves, and then when we've reveal that it was all a prank, I turn Mordecai into Norallie and Norallie into a Kai burner, and I'll be just like, see, I disguised this Kai burner. And then we reveal that it was actually for reals the whole time.
Yes.
All right. So
Foolproof.
you go up to his door, and as you're approaching, you see that there's a large figure that isn't a Kyburner, unless he's starting to model sort of like potbellies on them. A large figure silhouetted in his lit up house, who is talking with a deep voice, seemingly shouting back into the house. Like not like at the top of his lungs, but certainly Gaspard isn't there in the doorway or anything. And he says in a distinctly Shadowhar accent, "Fascinating research. I really am intrigued. Good eve, Gaspard." And this figure goes to close the door and turns around and sees you four approach. A large Shadowhar man of both in height and in width, as he seems to have not missed his protein anytime recently.
How interesting.
Has a big full beard and is dressed. It is dressed very nicely. I mean, if his body style's anything, he's probably not a soldier. And is dressed just in very nicely cut and formed clothes of a ever increasingly popular Shadowhar style, or like a Shadowhar take on Old Port fashion. Excuse me. I wasn't aware that Master Gaspard had further guests.
Yeah, we just decided to drop by. So who are you? If you don't mind me asking.
I very much do. I am simply a guest of Gaspard's. No need to worry.
Then you wouldn't mind sharing your name to other friends of Gaspard's.
I will actually leave that to Gaspard himself, if he wishes to discuss our business. Have a good evening. And he gives a bit of a bow.
He doesn't get away that easy.
Oh my goodness, that's a big wall of text. Oh goodness, all right, yeah, that's
it's just the gnomish mind probe. We use it all the time.
All right, that is a wisdom saving. Not enough. Okay. Let me go over what this is again, because you can go deep with this, because he failed. Reasoning, emotional state, and something that looms large in its mind, such as something it worries over, loves, or hates. Okay. Reasoning was business. Emotional state is I don't know if there's I'm not limited to one word, but I find myself I don't know if there's a I guess I'll just say nervously excited. And something that looms large in its mind. Death.
That's not... I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem...
Though he does know that you were rooting around in his mind, and he...
Yeah, I feel like I should get actual information. I mean, death is just so abstract.
His death.
Ah, okay, alright. That I will accept.
He looks at you with, indignant scorn.
Yeah, he can be indignant.
How dare you?
I want to use Eyes of the Grave.
Okay.
Oh,
So, Eyes.
Undead within 60 feet that's not behind total cover that isn't protected from divination check. Okay, you do not detect undead.
Okay.
he's not quite undead yet.
I'm satisfied with that answer.
I'm sorry, sir. We don't take no for an answer in this group.
I will have words with Gaspard over this.
Okay.
And he looks at all four of you, gives a little bit of a squint like he's committing you to his memory, and walks off with an indignant flourish of his cape.
Okay. I still have the mind probe radar, so is there anybody else in Gaspard's house? Besides Gaspard?
The radar? Detect thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's basically it's a concentration spell that stays up and can detect the surface thoughts of anything within 30 feet, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you cast the spell or as your action during the duration, you can search the thoughts.
Oh, yeah. I'm
within
sorry.
30 feet of you.
He didn't succeed. That ended. If he succeeds on the wisdom, the spell ends. But he didn't.
Right.
So your spell is still up.
Right.
Okay.
Or well, if it succeeds, the spell ends.
Yeah, it's fine. It's towards the bottom. You can also use the spell to detect the presence of thinking creatures you can't see. It's about 3/4 or 2/3 of the way down. That's the radar. The radar is an independent power, distinct from the mind probing, but you get them both with the same casting.
Okay. Yeah, there's two thinking creatures inside of Gaspard's, at least within range, because his if you go too far up, that'd be outside of your 30 feet, but within the 30 feet of you standing by his doorway, there's two thinking creatures.
Yeah. Do I know, like, does he have a roommate or... I don't think he has a wife. Does he have a girlfriend or, a roommate or a close friend or anything that he's told me about?
As far as you know, he lives alone. You don't think that he rents friendship. We'll put it that way. I mean,
Okay.
he could, but nothing necessarily says that he does.
Yeah.
So,
Of course, you never can be sure, right?
Yeah. Well.
Okay, right. So we may have to change plans. It may not be as fun as we hoped. He's still got another guest. Is there a...
Maybe you and me should walk in and chat, and then Mordecai.
Yeah, you could go first if you want.
Yeah,
And then
I mean...
say that you found me.
Yeah, you guys can be... Well, we'll just knock on the door. It's not a big deal. I use prestidigitate to make the sound of a door knocking. He'll appreciate that.
I don't suppose that is a somatic component like knocking on a door, does it?
I actually don't know. I think it does. I know it doesn't have a material component.
Does it have a verbal component and you just say knock knock?
Yeah,
verbal and somatic. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
so
okay, so that's what it is. Knock knock.
Yeah. Bright can't be bothered to walk 2 feet to the door and knock. He has to knock on the door from 2 feet away by going. All right. Magic was a mistake, everyone. Look at this
Wizard problems.
All right. Well, from the other side of the door is a very unsubtle set of thumps and creaks, and the door opens, and the large, speaking-ish Kyberner is standing there.
Oh. Hi.
Norallie.
Yeah, and a couple others that you probably don't recognize. Actually, that's a good question. Do you recognize Mordecai? What?
Guests.
Oh. Yeah, we'd like to say hello to Gaspard. It's an old friend of his. I'm sure he'll be happy to see us.
Its head swivels 180 degrees on his shoulders. Gaspard, bright, Norallie, and guests. And then there's a very loud, magically amplified reply of, let them in. This way, please. And the rest of its body swivels under the head so it's facing correctly. And
Okay. Yeah, we can follow it.
Yeah,
I think you should all come
follow
together. Yeah, should all come together, I think. Everything is ruined. All of our fun planning went down the drain.
And it's the Shadowhouse fault.
Yeah, they're wet blankets. Cold blankets.
That's okay. We can play a prank tomorrow. Find someone else.
No fun allowed, everyone. Alright, so you make your way inside.
This is a game, no fun.
Yep, and Gaspard is busily working over his desk. The Kyberner begins to introduce you, and he hand waves and says, yes, that's... I know. He doesn't look at you all, because he seems to be poring over some notes on a big drafting table. Has an assortment of, like, magnifying lenses, and he, like, reaches up and, like, pulls one down, and another one kind of springs up.
Hi. So... Hello? Hello?
Yeah, Bright. I can hear you, yes.
Okay, you should come out and say hello.
It's a lot more convenient if you step into my room and say hello.
Okay.
And you and Norallie and guests?
Yeah, we brought two. One for each
this
of us.
hour?
Well, we're not expecting you to entertain. We just want to say hello. I'm sure you'll be happy.
It's someone we thought you'd be glad to see.
There's no trick. There's gonna be, but there's not.
He stops. He sets down some sort of like a weird he's holding a pencil, but then there's something that's holding another pencil up above it, and he sets this weird double pencil down.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. My grandfather had one of those. They use them in drafting.
Yeah. Well, that's because what I'm doing. And he swivels around as he sort of stutters in that, and you all see like his face is like big and magnified behind a huge lens that he has in front of him, and he starts from a whoa. Lifts up almost like a welder's mask, just.
Oh yeah, sorry if it was confusing. We're all actually normal size.
I thought you were playing a prank on me for a moment. You weren't, but I guess I was ready for it. I know how much you like embiggening.
It's true. Beginning is one of my favorite spells.
But you know we don't do the same prank twice. We've already done that.
Yeah, well, I know. There was that one time. Anyway, it's... Oh, wait a minute. Cogs and Springs? Is that you, Mordecai?
Hi.
What are you doing alive?
I suppose I expected that as a question.
I mean, you just missed it. He didn't used to be.
And by that I mean, come here. It's been what? It's been at least 2,000. Come here. He stands up on his stool and is making a gesturing motion to you, so you're like eye level to each other.
And Mordecai steps forward.
Oh, how are you? Now, come on, I'm not gonna bite.
Half expect you to slap me, old man.
Well, okay, that's fair, but no, not now. Come here.
And I go in for a hug? That's what he's prompting for?
Yeah. But then he hits your back. No, look at you. You look, You
old?
Look... Yeah, what? Like, he leans in and once more he's like... He puts the lens down. And it's just like... Canyons and riverbeds galore. He puts the lens back up so he's looking at you normally. Your face! You've lived a hard life.
It's what the sun will do to you.
I may not be the most sunbathed gnome around, but Mordecai, this isn't like he looks over at the three of you and he looks back to you like he kind of whispers like, this isn't like the hard stuff, is it?
Oh.
Do you need detox?
No, I'm good.
Oh well, yeah. Well, here, have a seat. Mordecai, you get my comfy chair. Age before beauty. Sorry, Bright.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll sit on the bench.
And this is Celine.
Celine, it's a pleasure to meet you? Question mark. Is it a pleasure to meet you?
Depends on who you ask.
My gnomish friend is not incorrect, but yes, it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Gaspard.
All right, well then, yeah, it's warm feelings all around. Wonderful. Do you need anything to drink?
No, I don't want to put you out. It's just to say hi.
No, you're not putting me out. If anything, these two have firmly ensconced me. There's been a lot of business being done. Wonderful, wonderful. In fact, you know them.
Yes, we're traveling companions.
Yeah, remember how I said I used to know somebody in the circus? Well, it turned out it was Mordecai the whole time. I didn't realize you knew him until he mentioned you. Anyway, now we know. It's him and you and him. Yeah, whole big thing.
He's not trying to be a gold digger, is he? Or he looks to you, Norallie. Silver fox, huh?
No, I have a silversmith. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's right, you do. Well, I know what your favorite color is. Walsh, go get something to drink. Yes, Gaspard.
Walsh.
Yeah, Walsh. That's his name.
When did you make him?
Oh, well, I've been working on him over the last long time. Actually, it's thanks to these two that the project was finally able to come to fruition.
Oh?
Oh, of course. They're doing wonderful work on the orphanarium. Haven't you seen it?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
and,
brilliant design,
Kyburner.
right? He is interrupting you, by the way, as you're talking. Not me. I swear it's not me. It's not me, Coffee. It's the character.
The Kyburners are great. It's a lot, and it's...
Yeah, I didn't know they had learned to talk. How smart is it?
Doing some experimentation. Apparently, you can actually pick these things up on a mine detection spell. So it's interesting to see them come along like this.
Yeah, that means it has at least 3 intelligence.
At least 3 brain cells.
Actually, at least 4.
Oh, I see. You've studied Game Wall the Fourth's chart of ability measure. Oh, very well, buddy. I didn't know you were so learned.
I mean, it's the intelligence 20 talking. You know,
20. Yeah, I think on
Game Wall has actually published a 5th version of the chart.
I guess I haven't been
working on the
updated to
6th.
the 5th version. I don't know. On the 4th, 20. Yeah, you know what? I could see you tickling. I could see you tickling 20 there, Bright. Very learned gnome, that 4th wall. Or Game Wall, the 4th, I'm sorry. Whoops. Yeah, Walsh goes clomping off to apparently get something for you all to drink. And now, so you're here. Did you have questions on something? Do you need to make another plan adjustment, or did you bring these two because they need special accommodation? Wink, wink.
Actually, they might have special requests for something. They're probably going to stay with us and help us run the orphanarium. So, they might have things to ask you for, but for the most part, no. I just thought you might want to see Mordecai again after however many years it's been.
Oh, yeah, well, of course. I mean, it certainly wasn't expected. I'm not turning down the chance to catch up here with you, boy. Yeah, so you can see my latest bit of tinkering come to fruition.
I'm sorry I missed it.
Well, I'm sure at some point I rambled about an idea about something along these lines. It's really been, well, you know, the concept, the form is easy enough to make, but it's the bits, it's the internals, it's the whirlygogs, and the such, and of course, no short supply of widgets go into these things. Which, by the way, Norallie, I have to tell you, the boat idea, absolutely working out wonderfully. I am well stocked in widgets. But, well, you know, Mordecai, after we parted ways, I really just needed to... I felt like I hit a wall. I felt like I wasn't growing. That I wasn't going anywhere. Nothing really new. Ideas, direction, but no motion. You know what I'm talking about? You ever just felt dead inside?
More than you know.
And, so I set down my tools for a while and I went on a sabbatical. I needed to clear my mind. I think I needed to reinvent myself, even. Mordecai, do you know what it's like to reinvent yourself?
Several times.
Oh. You could at least be modest to your host. You know, I'm taking the wind out of my sails. Come on, lad.
No, I was a circus performer and then a traveling bard, and now still figuring out the next bit.
Ah. Well, let's see. Are you still with what's his name? I heard you were with Zozo.
How did you know about that? He's from
look,
the circus.
I've talked. It's like no one has ever been to a circus before, or that circus performers haven't come to see me about, you know, performance enhancements.
Zion's been here.
Oh no, not him directly, but yeah, that's his name. I'm glad you remember. No, last I knew, you were, weren't you like a thing, or is that just a rumor?
That was a thing for a bit. It's not anymore.
Oh, it was that bard life, wasn't it?
Well, more like the rogue life. He stole from me.
No, he didn't.
He did. Stole a piece of jewelry that was very meaningful to me. And made off with it, and then the troupe disbanded because one of their star performers had gone missing. So.
Well. What a world we live in. You know, I had someone from the show come to me at some point in time. It's kind of what gave me the idea, ultimately led to the Kai Burners, but they were talking about some sort of a new act, making like a big mechanical-looking dragon. You know, just, you know, it could shoot fire out of its mouth, you know, tales of old. You put on some sort of a hero act, and, yeah, it never really went anywhere, especially...
Wait, a mechanical-looking dragon? How long ago was the mechanical dragon?
Oh, oh boy. I mean, I couldn't just turn down the idea, so I started some work on it, but it was kind of piecemeal, you know? Oh boy, this had to have been years ago. But, speaking of theft, yeah, it was, that was also stolen. And, you know, kind of took the wind out of my sails. I like using these nautical terms. I get a lot of it from the sailors. I learned a lot of other stuff from the sailors, too, but I probably shouldn't repeat it in nice company.
Not on a PG-13 day, no.
He, like, he looks to you, Norallie, a little bit, but he also looks to Celine with, like a testing squint.
And Celine kind of gives the feeling back of, yeah, no, she doesn't really care. Like, if he uses sailor language, she's not gonna be bothered.
But yeah, so, I was on this kick, super inventive. It got me to thinking about, how joints move and articulate, and how things can just really, almost have a life of their own, even if they don't. And that scrap dragon was, I mean, I didn't expect it to ever really come to fruition, but, yep, just, it was gone.
I had a bad dream about a scrap dragon once. I would care not to have that dream again.
Hey, look, my work's not that bad, Mordecai. Come on. It was just like a bunch of pickaxes and other, like, spare parts I had lying around.
Yeah. That's super, 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 super weird. I hope you don't mind if we show an unusual interest in this mechanical dragon. Do you remember who you were making it for?
I don't know. Especially because you're not leaning forward in your seat enough to really express that, but, thank you! Like, he makes a gesture over to Celine, who is politely leaning forward to the storyteller.
You're welcome.
Sure not. Just...
No, I can't say that I really recall. It's a bit fuzzy. I just know that it was a very good and compelling idea. Really seemed to play up to my ego, very specifically.
Well, I sure do wish you knew who you commissioned to make it by. I mean, I know it was stolen, and that doesn't mean that whoever commissioned it wasn't. So here's the thing: we had to fight that dragon. It was a whole big deal, and we think that
Does the name Morlans mean anything to you?
Morlans? No. Sounds like a silly name.
Yeah.
That's just something I've heard.
Yeah. So, whoever stole it made it into, to be completely honest, what if you crossed one of these Kai burners with the scrap dragon you were making? I don't want to give you ideas. I guess I just gave you ideas. Applied the principles of both of them together. Imagine what you'd get.
Oh, I was going to say, they're not biological, Bright. I mean, I don't know what...
No, you can't cross them biologically, obviously. But metaphorically, I mean, I would call something like that like a drolum, if that's a word that means anything to you.
Drolum? That's genius!
But anyway, it was a whole big thing. It was imbued with the Fey spirits, and I don't know if it was a single Fey spirit or like a collective hive mind thing, or one way or the other. Though we had to fight it. It was a whole big deal. Also, Mordecai died. Then he got better. That was a big deal too. Anyway, long story long.
William also died, but then got better.
Yeah, but not at the. Yeah, that's true. That was a whole different time. So yeah. So anyway, if you want to help us investigate the murders of these two people who are currently standing here,
Oh God.
Anything you happen to know about that commission would sure be appreciated.
If I find something, I'll let you know. I might have notes from back then. It's got to be buried in a crate somewhere. But I've just been making more notes. This is everything going on. I got some sweetheart deals with the Shadowheart that have really allowed me to make some leaps and bounds forwards, just with everything I've learned over the years. And well,
Speaking Speaking of which, who is that gentleman that just left?
Oh, well, he's a merchant friend of mine. If you saw him, you probably saw, or at least heard that he is Shadowheart. Everything is don't worry. My life is not
He was
threatened.
cagey about sharing his name.
Well, yeah, of course. Why? We have a private business dealing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you meet someone new, it's rude not to give your name.
All right, that's.
You've lived in Old Port. You've lived in Old Port long enough to know that.
Well, I know, but business is business, and if he might not be completely cultured to Old Port either. It's just something, and it's an arrangement that he and I have made. If he didn't want to give it, I imagine he's fine though if I talk about him, because it's business with me.
I understand. I know you don't. Not all of your work is for us. We just, I don't know.
Oh, you're the direct benefactors of that work. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, I know. I don't want to make it feel like we don't want you to work with them. I don't know.
His
There's
eyes
so much
narrow and
Shadowheart.
bright.
Things
You
are.
did it, didn't you?
Did what?
The questions that I've just been asked.
Uh-huh.
You didn't you?
Didn't what?
Get the answers.
No, I don't have any answers. I have very
wink.
few. No, I don't have any answers. There's no funny business going on. We trust you. We respect you.
You might get a strongly worded sending at some point in time about what had transpired at the door.
That's possible.
There's
we
a
just,
clump.
We just worry about clientele sometimes. We're not.
Thanks, Walsh.
Oh, that's so nice.
This robot thing serves tea. It's not too elegant, but it's functional. No pinkies out, darling, or anything, but it pours tea. It puts a pack of tea in your cup and gives the cup to you.
I drink the tea.
Oh, it's instant.
So who was he? Is he
He's
somebody
a merchant
important?
friend of mine. That's all that needs to be said. Look, I get supplies from him. He helps me out if I run into a jam.
Yeah, we figured it was something like that. Look, I don't have any problem with it. I just don't want you to get into any kind of a situation that could compromise the integrity of the orphanarium. That's all I'm concerned about.
Are you kidding me? That's right. You know the story of the Electrum Goose.
Of course. Okay.
I mean, if we can talk bluntly, you're my Electrum Goose.
Okay. I like to hear that. Can I make an insight check? I don't want to do any magic. I just want to
Yes, sure.
use my...
Thank you for specifically telling me you're not using magic, but I would not expect you to not use magic.
I mean, considering that I use prestidigitation to knock on the door, you never know.
Benefit of the doubt. Yeah.
Okay. I should have used magic.
It's not tactful, but yeah, he's effectively like you're his paycheck. Like
He doesn't have to be tactful with me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry for making... See, this was always going to be an awkward conversation. We were just mistaken about where the awkwardness was going to come from.
Yeah, well, but you know what? We bled the line of the air bubble. It's fine.
Okay.
You know what I mean. I know what you mean.
Of course. Okay, so I'm going to use prestidigitation to sweeten this tea. Because
Can you do that to mine too?
Because I can flavor food with it.
Sure.
And I'll sweeten Norallie's too. See, gift token of appreciation.
He,
It's
he
artificial sweetener.
as he goes to sip, he stops and lifts an eyebrow.
Look, Norallie needs to cut back anyway.
Looks at you, Bright. A little bit more, please.
Okay.
All good, thank you.
Mordecai goes to sip his tea.
So besides some late night tea, and by the way, I don't need to explain this to you, Bright, but for the rest of you there, that this is something that is becoming more and more scarce. This is a tea blend from Uct. Not a lot of that's coming out too much anymore. So please consider this a treat. I'm telling you explicitly.
Yeah, I noticed. I mean, there's still we know there's not a lot of production anymore. It used to be much more common, and I'm sure that people still have stores of it. But yeah, I know what it's like when there's no more of something. We still need to talk about our families and friends. But are you from Uct, or are you from other place where the rock gnomes are from? Is that Kandor? Where? Let me look it up. No, that's the half-orcs. Aslandia. Yeah.
Yep, well,
do you still have... do you still... we can talk about it later. I just wondered if you still have, connections with people from home.
Oh, yeah, I should still have family up there. It, fortunately, hasn't been quite as affected. Though it's become quite a popular place. But yeah, I have family in the capital city. The one in the oasis there, the river that goes down to the sea.
Okay.
Honestly, if without those connections as well, I wouldn't be the person I am today. So I'm fortunate I still have them.
Okay. I'm glad to see that you're not as affected. Okay, that's all.
He like looks at you as you say that, and you're looking really sad. He's like, I mean, of course, my family is burdened because a lot more other family members are living with them, and he just stops. That's. I'm really trying to.
You were never very good at the sympathy part.
It's okay. I genuinely am happy that it hasn't hit your family as much.
I'm better at the making, not the faking. Yeah, well, thank you, Bright. I'm terribly sorry. I mean, I thought this was a nice gesture, but I don't want you to salt your tea with your tears.
No, it's okay. I can always fix the flavor.
That's even worse. You're just crying so profusely in your tea, you have to use magic to sweeten it back up. This is even more tragic and terrible now. Just. Big pouty bottom lip and everything.
Oh dear. I shouldn't have said
but
that.
yeah, so it seems like
I couldn't resist.
Yeah, well, I'm needed here and now. This is my life, and this is what I'm doing. And you know what? This was meant to happen, right? I'm a firm believer in fate. The gears go together. The machine parts all work as expected. You may not understand them, but hey, they're under the surface. They're working. And so I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to look back. I only have forward to look to. Yeah, I mean, look, if you all peek under the hood and you got questions, I'll do my best to answer it. But, I mean, I may not be able to explain all the parts to you. And you met one of the parts at the front door, it seems.
Interesting. Very interesting.
type that whole thing without my mute on. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. So I guess you've said what you've been up to.
Yeah, I skip and stoned over it.
Have you seen my mom and dad?
Well, not recently. I have seen them around town. There's some similar circles that we might bump into each other. But, I mean, I've been a bit of a recluse for the past, almost going on 3 years now.
Why?
Things have just been getting really weird. And especially with our kind, and he looks over with sympathy to you, Bright. Like, our kind's not exactly popular these days, and so, stayed indoors, and plus, I had time to think, I had time to work. The Shadowhar were here. Not everyone's on board with the Shadowhar. I just had reasons to, keep my nose to the grindstone. Socializing's not exactly, my forte. Unlike Norallie here, I can't stop hearing about all her socializing.
And her new boyfriend, it seems.
Oh, yeah.
It's really nice. But yeah, I've been doing things. I've been trying to get more sponsors for the orphanarium. Because, we put in a lot of money for it, but, we need to make sure that we can maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
So, trying to get sponsors other than the church, because I don't want the church to be the only sponsor, because then, we'd have to do a lot of churchy things.
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you, Norallie, working with them, it's a weird mix. It's the easiest pain in my ass ever. They actually have all the plans ready to go. All this stuff is already written out in dimensions and everything. Everything is fine, just except I gotta modify the things that I already had planned. I can drop it in, of course, no problem, but this is the third modification. Do you know if any more modifications are... I'll do it, but,
It depends on what they want to do and how much they're going to pay for it.
Well... I mean, I gave you my quote. You paid it all in cash up front. Mighty generous of you. He'll give the exact, figure, Mordecai. You're welcome to have your heart skip a beat.
Holy cow. Yeah, that's a lot.
Well,
but,
yeah, quality work.
It's for a good cause, though.
Yeah. And most of those changes are just in the public and common areas. It's not like we're having to change our inner section or our rooms or even the dormitories, really. It's just in the public areas.
Or even the purpose.
Absolutely, Bright. The thing that we talked about, no changes needed. Everything's where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Okay. What?
No, it's just, she has special...
It's okay. It's okay, you can tell Mordecai. Yeah, interior decorations. Yeah, you can tell Mordecai and Celine. They're gonna be using it with us.
Are they? They look kind of big. Especially that half-elf.
Not the...
No offense.
Oh my. No, not the...
That's...
I hear that's rude.
Not the gnome-sized things.
Fine.
Oh, not the secret tunnels?
Yeah, no. Didn't you ever wonder why we had the place built with 5 rooms and only one of them was small-sized?
I'm a curious person, but
So anyway,
whatever.
yeah, they're going to be staying with us in the secret place, and they're going to be using our our meeting rooms. Anyway, Mordecai, Celine. Long story short, this time it's actually short. Long story short, we're getting a base.
With secret tunnels. He leans forward on his seat.
Yeah, there's secret tunnels. It's gonna be so much fun.
I've always wanted a postern.
You've always wanted a postern?
Well, yeah, to
Yes.
cover the secret tunnel.
You would look, Mordecai. There are certain
bases.
there are
and
certain-
everything.
there are certain unique dangers when one lives in the dragon graveyard for 10 years.
On their own in a cave.
Excuse you, it was not a cave. I had a nice cozy hut. Thank you.
Okay.
And the hut was
Okay.
built inside of a cave.
Oh yes. Because that was
Still in a cave.
yes.
I've
it was
been
a nice
there.
cozy hut.
I've been there.
Oh, you've been there.
Yeah, I went there.
I haven't been there in a long time.
Oh, yeah. Celine wasn't there. I mean,
No.
you live there, but you weren't there when they visited.
Dead.
Yeah,
That was the second funeral.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been there. All of us have been there.
Celine, is there
I
something you
wasn't.
hope that they didn't find in the cave?
Oh, I was there, but
Maybe.
he wasn't there.
Sorry,
yes,
no,
Norallie wasn't there. Norallie wasn't there. It was Casimir.
Oh, it was Casimir.
My bones were there, but I wasn't.
Yes, it was me, Bright, Cypher, and Casimir that had all gone to give a second funeral, basically.
Right, and you didn't look under my bed, did you?
Should I have?
No.
Why?
Not the kind of thing
So-
that you say in polite company, Mordecai.
Sure. I'll leave it at that. Sure.
Medical equipment, sensitive medical equipment.
Yes, very sensitive, delicate medical equipment, and we're gonna leave it at that.
Right. Because living by yourself for 10 years.
Among other things. I'm putting that on stream, but god damn it, Maddie! Oh boy!
That's exactly where Mordecai's mind was going.
Yeah. God, I am like a fucking tomato right now.
Well-
Probably would be.
Certainly, I'm glad that you checked in, Bright and Norallie and Mordecai. It's well, it's great to see you again, especially if you're on board with all this. If you want any more catching up, hey, I'm glad to talk when I can. And Celine, it's a pleasure to meet you. But unless you needed anything else specific, I really had a couple more hours to work on these plans before I retire for the night.
That is fair enough. You do seem the busyness is important because I'm sure you have deadlines to meet and all of that.
Oh, of course I do. My bosses are terrible. He makes a joking gesture over to Bright and Norallie.
Yeah.
Yeah, slave drivers the lot.
Well, we'll smile at that. Or I will, anyway.
But we should go and sort out what we're doing for the night and get prepared for tomorrow.
Yes.
All right. Well, hey, you know what? I'm gonna send Walsh with you. He needs to get back to work anyway, and so why not have an escort?
Sure, we can do that.
Walsh,
All
get
right.
back to work. Yes, Gaspard.
And I'm guessing we're gonna exit and then figure out what it is that we're gonna be doing for the rest of the night.
Yeah. You're clomping down the street with this thing.
Yeah.
The port is rather lively. It's late, but this is like restaurants are, toward capacity, getting towards the end of the night when people are then going to start going home, unless they're going out drinking or doing another like late night, good or bad. Walsh apparently is heading right back to the orphanarium to continue his construction. You're not obligated to go with him, but he's on his way there.
So where are we sleeping tonight?
Oh, there's rooms for you in the orphanarium. They may not be as fully decorated, but we can conjure up some mattresses and things for you.
I didn't exactly bring a spell with me today that would create a shelter that's appropriate to her.
Oh yeah, no, you don't need it. It's safe there.
Okay.
Well, that's a good question. Did I?
Out of character, I was thinking Temple of the Gods and just erecting something that was similar to what we saw in the Six Landlords.
Oh, I did. So I can cast that if you'd like. Not really the best place to sleep, but
It's up to you all.
That is something that Mordecai's going to want to do over the course of time, though, is periodically cast the temple and create a temple here.
there's the text for reference.
It's a wall of text, but
Okay.
basically it works similarly-ish to Mordekainen's Magnificent Mansion, except that it's a temple.
Yeah, it's different to that. It's more like
Well, it's a bit different. It's a physical place instead of a extra dimensional.
Yeah,
like a mixture of Hallow and like a Dance Instant Fortress.
Okay. Yeah. Are you just you're conjuring up you're conjuring up the place that you're at in the Six Landlords Village, right? That your style
Yeah.
big round
Yeah.
room. Okay.
Big round room. That's fairly nondescript, but very colorful.
Yeah.
Well, that's an oxymoron. It's colorful, but simple.
Yeah. Simple, not nondescript.
So what holy symbol do you use now? Do you just
Yeah.
like pick up a handful of dirt, or how does it work?
I still
Selena
have
would
the
pop up
amulet
there.
that I have. And Mordecai would bring up the little wooden necklace doll of himself. These were carved by a man named Zephyr, and he was the one who found us on the mountain. And they're tribute tokens in a way to the land.
That's interesting.
I still have that amulet as well.
Maybe you could reattune it properly.
Probably could. It's gonna take a little bit of time, I think, but pairing them together. And yeah, I don't know. It's just a simple place to reflect and be mindful of your surroundings. Something serene. Maybe a
Okay.
very quiet place in a very quiet place, very kind of sound dampening on the walls in a way that it becomes a quiet place in a busy city.
Okay.
Maybe there's the quiet sound of running water. Other natural noises.
The countryside aromas.
Yeah.
The smell of fresh air, at least. Maybe not manure.
I thought you wanted a long rest and spells, but I guess I was wrong.
Yes. To get the long rested spells, you must smell the manure. You must sink into it, marinate in it.
So yeah, you in an incomplete part of the building, you can manifest this this large yurt, or whatever you'd like to call it, but in shape and general decor, that's what it is. But yeah, Bright and Norallie, this is the welcome to their temple.
It's very nice.
Inside, they might even have pamphlets about the land, if you'd like to read one.
There's no pamphlets. It's just very sound deafening to the outside, and has little nature sounds going on the inside.
Do you have the issues of the Watch Mountain?
The Watch Mountain.
Never mind.
I don't understand.
Okay. I think Maddie figured it out.
Well, real quick, do you want to exclude any creature types in the formation of your yurt?
Don't say
Well,
gnomes.
since-
Don't say gnomes.
Well, since Celine is casting the spell, she would have the choice.
Yep. Celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, or undead can be excluded.
Fae Fiend Undead. That shouldn't interfere with any of us.
Okay.
I can't exclude Celestials, or I won't be allowed in.
You conjure it, but you forgot your keys.
Yeah.
You're locked
Nothing to
out.
do that.
Okay. Sure.
Although, as we are doing the thing with the long rest, I have a question to ask you.
Sure.
But we'll go through this, and then once we're actually doing the long rest, I'll ask.
Okay.
Because I'm sure there's going to be more RP between then and now.
Okay, well, and here, I'll tell you what. Why don't we get up and take a break with you having returned? You've discovered some things. You've manifested this holy yurt. And at least I need to get up and take a quick break. So if you have any other questions or things that you either want to type out or talk about, that's fine. But everyone out there in the audience, get up, take 10, 15 minutes, get a drink, a snack, stretch, and when we come back, we'll continue our... we'll continue this, getting the gang back together, setting things up, and moving forward. / also kind of, not really lore bombs, but lore discussions. And go from there. Also, if any of you do have any bits or re-ups for your subs, send them in and take a look at the middle of the screen when you do.